to our Wednesday night talk show, Living in Grace. Please apologize, we were having some technical difficulties, but they have been resolved. Well, as you know, our world is going through a lot of changes. If you watch the news today, it's horrific the things that are taking place. And one of the areas that has become a great crisis for us is the political arena that we're all having to look at and have to make decisions about. And that's why tonight's program is about the power to vote. It's soon, August the 4th, in this area, in St. Louis County, there will be an election that everybody needs to go and vote. On November the 3rd, our country will be voting on the President of the United States and other important officers and various issues. But if you don't vote, you're not giving your voice for people to hear. And so then don't complain after. So tonight, I have two fine young lawyers with me who are going to help us through this process and help us to be ready to cast our ballot. First, I have with me tonight Alexis Williams. She's a class of 2018, graduate of St. Louis University School of Law. Let us all say amen for that. And during her time at SLU Law, Alexis was the 2017-2018 president of the SLU Law Black Law Students Association and held two regional office positions within the National Black Law Student Association, including the Midwest Regional Vice Chair. And prior to SLU Law, Alexis studied psychology and sports management at Howard University, graduating summa cum laude. Alexis is a member of the Gamma Sigma National Service Sorority, and in the Spirit of Service, site on advisory board for the Urban Community Service Organization, Young Voices for Action Incorporated. For the 2020 to 2021 bar year, Alexis continued to serve as a member at large for the Women Lawyer Association of the Greater St. Louis and an executive committee member of the Young Lawyer Division of the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis. So let's welcome everybody, Attorney Alexis Williams. Also, we would like to welcome tonight also Lace Klein. She's an attorney at I may not say correctly, McAney, Van Cleves, and Phillips, known as MVP Law, representing clients in defense of insurance claims prior to joining MVP Law. Lace has served as an assistant prosecuting attorney in Jackson County, Missouri, and the circuit attorney office in St. Louis, Missouri. She is an executive member of the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis Young Lawyers Division. And she's helping to spearhead the Young Lawyers Division Committee addressing racial equity in the St. Louis region, which was recently formed to identify the barriers of advancement of minorities and assist in remedying those disparities. She also serves as Call a Lawyer Chair, which is aimed at helping St. Louis residents find legal service to meet their needs. And let's welcome Attorney Klein, everybody, tonight as well, too. Ladies, I'm very thankful that you both have decided to be with us tonight. And what we would like to do is I want to ask you a question. Can you please explain to us what is the Young Lawyers section for the St. Louis Metropolitan Bar? If you could explain that to everybody, I would appreciate it.
So first off, thank you for having us, Bishop. The Young Lawyers Division of the Bar Association of the Metropolitan St. Louis is a subsection which assists young lawyers. So you're under 35 or you've been practicing for 5 years or less, and it basically assists you in navigating those early years in the formation of your legal career. And so we have numerous subcommittees on what we call it YLD. And one of the things that we've recently done is form the Committee Addressing Racial Equity in St. Louis, or YLD Cares. And this committee was formed to bridge a gap between the legal system and the St. Louis community. The purpose of our subcommittee is to identify barriers in the legal system that affect minorities, but also to provide educational resources and opportunities to our community so that we can remedy some of those barriers. Our goal is to help community members navigate the complexities of the legal system, as well as to empower community members so that they can hold the legal system accountable when it falls short on its ideals. And the ways that YLD Cares intends to do this is in part through community education on various rights, whether it be voting rights, rights when it comes to police encounters or discrimination, so that our community can be empowered and exercise those rights as they come up.
Very good, very good. I'd like to ask Attorney Williams about the Racial Equity Division of the Young Lawyers. Can you explain to everybody what that section's about, please?
So Lace, I'll take this one. It's kind of just to piggyback off of what Lace already explained. CARES is basically formed to help bridge that gap with underserved minority communities. A lot of times that can be coinciding with lower economic or socioeconomic status. And our goal is to bring understanding and education of the law to what is the St. Louis community, what is a part of the community, and basically be able to make sure that people understand their rights regardless of what the different topics are. And right now, our big focus is voting, which is where the initiative Promote the Vote comes in.
Okay. So now, I understand you have a PowerPoint presentation you'd like to present. And
Yeah.
I'm going to give a chance to go ahead and do that now. Everybody, this is the call, the power of the vote.
So one of the reasons on why we're tackling voting is this is a very important election year, not only nationally, but locally. And one of the things that tends to happen in minority communities is there's voter suppression. So basically, what voter suppression is it can be either legal or illegal tactics that prevent eligible voters from either registering to vote and actually performing the act of voting. So one of the biggest ways that we tend to think about voter suppression is the Jim Crow literacy test that Black people had to undergo before the Civil Rights Movement. That's like a prime example of voter suppression and a tactic through the law that was in place to prevent Black people and people of certain socioeconomic backgrounds from voting.
Okay. Are you going to continue?
Oh, I didn't know if you had any follow-up questions. So voter suppression affects a lot of people. It affects people of color. It also disparately affects women, typically married women, lower socioeconomic status individuals, the elderly, people with disabilities, students, and persons convicted of felonies. Now, when we think about all of these categories, one of the things that we want to remember is there's a term called intersectionality. So most people don't just meet one of these things. So for me, I'm a Black woman, so I'm doubly affected by this. And if you take, for instance, persons convicted of felony, well, we know that nationally, 1 out of 13 Black people cannot vote because there are laws that disenfranchise people that have been convicted of felonies and take away their rights to vote. And so if you're Black and you have a felony and you live in a state with those types of laws, that's a way to suppress your vote and you having a community impact even after you've served your time.
All right.
So there are also a number of methods and tactics that people use to suppress voters. So one of those things is through voter identification laws, requiring certain types of identification when you register to vote and you actually present to the polls. Another thing is racial gerrymandering, which is redistricting election lines to favor one party, typically the Republican Party. Another common issue that you'll see is voting roll purging. And a prime example of this issue actually just occurred back in March in my hometown of Kansas City, where the mayor of Kansas City, he's a Black man, he went in to go vote during one of their elections, and they said that they couldn't find his name on the roll. He has voted several times, including during the past 4 years, including for himself. And so somehow they've magically purged this list of him. And you know, this can happen to the mayor of a town. Imagine how this affects people that are in lower socioeconomic statuses and don't have that same level of access to voting and to various resources.
Okay.
Another tactic is precinct closures. So precincts might close down earlier than the stated election time. In Missouri, for our August 4th election, you have to be in line by 7 p.m. to exercise your right to vote. And we've seen across the news over the past several years, places are closing down earlier, and civil rights organizations are having to petition the court so that people can exercise their right to vote. Another thing is voter registration restrictions. And so that can be only requiring voters to register by a certain method, whether that be you can only register in person, or you have to have certain, again, it correlates with identification as well. And then we just talked about felony disenfranchisement and how that affects voters.
Okay, so one of the things so far as you're dealing with voter suppression, you have to make everybody be aware of what they need to do. Too loud. All right, continue, please.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
There was an echo.
There was an echo, so I couldn't hear you either.
Okay. You know, I really apologize, but we're really having some technical difficulties with sound. I'm having a difficulty really trying to hear what you're saying. So your PowerPoint is great, and this needs to be turned down. And let's just go. Why don't you go ahead and continue with the PowerPoint, please?
In regards to voter suppression or disenfranchisement, that's really it. I don't know if I completely heard your question, so if I'm going the right way, just let me know, or the wrong way, also let me know. So that's kind of the onus behind and the reason why the Promote the Vote initiative was started. And the entire point of Promote the Vote is to educate people on how to properly make sure that their ballot is casted, or that they properly cast their ballot and that their ballot is counted. And so when you think about the different things that Laishiana just went through that are different forms of voter suppression, in the state of Missouri, there's the requirement for a notary on your mail-in ballots and also on absentee ballots. Missouri is one of, I believe, 13 states that does not have open absentee voting, where there aren't restrictions. So with that being said, we started Promote the Vote in response to that need and trying to fill the void. Not even trying, we are filling the void with the lack in education about how to properly vote, and helping to interpret, not even interpret, but explain and make people aware of their actual rights and how to exercise them, and to create those resources, because notaries are not necessarily the easiest to gain access to, especially in the middle of a pandemic, and in lower socioeconomic areas, as well as a lot of times with people of color, if we aren't banking or people having bank accounts at the same rate as other races, and other different categories of people, socioeconomic status, all of those different things combined, the access to banks where typically you can get notary services for free or at a discounted rate if you bank with them, it doesn't exist for a lot of people. So our goal is to really fill the void through what we can do as YOD Cares and the Promote the Vote initiative, but also working with partners. And so we have a great partner in Midland States Bank who is also helping with ballot notarization for this initiative. So I don't know if that was what you were trying to get out of your question, Bishop, or not, but I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Okay. Attorneys, I'm really having difficulties. We have some really serious technical difficulties where I really can't hear you very well. So let me do this. I want everybody to know that the Young Lawyers group is really helping for people to have the equity that they should have to vote. And I want you to please know, for more information, it said promote the vote. Go to www.bamsl.org/promote the vote. Also, on this coming Saturday, they will be having a ballot notarization, Saturday, July the 25th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Friendly Temple Missionary Baptist Church, located 5553 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, St. Louis, Missouri, 63112. I'm encouraging you, as with the Young Lawyers, is to make sure you vote. If you need an absentee ballot or a mail-in ballot, if you will check with your various county offices, you could go to in St. Louis County, you may look up their site, or St. Louis City or St. Charles County, wherever you live, and obtain the information you need so you can be able to vote. Ladies, I really apologize for tonight of having the technical difficulties that we're having, because this is a very, very important subject. When you say that you're not gonna vote because your vote doesn't matter, you're wrong. Your vote does matter. People have given and shed blood in this country so you could vote, I could vote, that we could make a decision about our life. And if ever there's a time in this country we need people to go to the ballot and vote, it is now. 2020 has been a turbulent year, but we could also make some great decisions when we go to the polls and vote. Now, coming up on August the 4th, there's one thing I'm encouraging everybody to do. That is to vote yes to Amendment 2. Amendment 2 is expanded Medicaid. And let me tell you something, if you are thinking that it's going to raise your taxes, no, it will not. This is deal with tax dollars that Missouri already collects and sent up, but we want them to stay here and to give better health care to those that are disenfranchised in this state. So you say, vote yes to Amendment 2. Now, I can't tell you the people to vote for, but vote with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Take out the time to read about the candidates. Take time out to find out what do they believe. That do they fit the agenda you have for your community or not. But ladies, I apologize for this tonight, but I really can't hear you. And I wish you well, and I know you're gonna do a great job, and I'm encouraging everybody, again, if you want to make sure you with a absentee ballot or with a mail-in ballot, please go in and have your ballot notarized. There's a difference specifically for those folks that are under the age of 65 who will not go to the polls to vote. So show up Saturday, July the 25th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Friendly Temple Missionary Baptist Church, 5553 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. And what we're going to do tonight, we're going to end our program a little bit early. But what we're going to do, though, ladies, I thank you for being with us. We'll be in contact with you. I apologize again for our technical difficulty, but the information you have is valuable. And we will encourage everybody to support you.
Bishop, we're getting feedback on our end that the viewers can hear us. If you don't mind, we can continue explaining the absentee versus mail-in ballot process in
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
For listeners, since we are getting feedback from them that they can hear us just fine. Is that all right with you? And we'll just go through the PowerPoint and walk them through how to apply for the November election.
Okay. I couldn't quite understand what you were saying, but I think you said you wanted to continue something. So go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
So as long as everyone else can hear us, and I think it's definitely important to try to get through the educational piece for this election as well as the November election. So, Lace, I'm happy to just go through really quick the last step, the last part of the primary, and then if you want to go into the the general election in November, let's do that. So, again, if you can see the PowerPoint that's up on the screen, we have the differences between the absentee ballot and the mail-in ballot. That is. It has very much so more to do with the August election right now, the primary, because we don't know if any of this will change prior to the November election. As of right now, the deadline for voter registration for the August 8th or August 4th primary has ended. That ended back on July 8th. To send in your mail-in ballot application or your absentee ballot application. They are actually on the same form. That deadline was July 22nd. So at this point, you cannot opt into absentee or mail-in voting for the August 4th primary. You can still go and vote in person. Nothing about that has changed, but to do the absentee or mail-in option, that's no longer an option. I'm going to speak now to people who have actually already filled out the mail-in or absentee ballot application and what your ballot will look like when you get it back. If you do not receive your ballot before, I would say maybe August 1st, you can go into the actual election authority and vote absentee in person. And that's really important because there is a possibility with the higher volume of ballot applications received that getting the ballots out to people may take a little bit longer. So I don't want anyone to not vote or to send your ballot in and it does not get in time because it takes about 7 to 10 days for processing of the ballots from when you put it in the mail to when the election authority will receive it and process it. That's what's listed on the actual paperwork that comes with the ballot. So when you get your ballot, you will vote. Your vote is supposed to be secret. So what you will do is fill out the form. List you go to the actual form in the PowerPoint. Um, so you will fill out this form that you can see on the screen. Now, the first line you see is circle a political party. Again, regardless of who you choose, we don't care who you choose, but you have to choose a party. Next, you will fill out your voter name, all of that information that you see in the next box.
And
Or in the
Alexis,
next,
I will actually intervene here. If you don't want to choose a party, you select nonpartisan issues, which is right here, and that just gets you an issues ballot. So you can't just not select anything because
Correct.
you don't have a political party. If you do not have a political party, you select nonpartisan issues only. But if you leave it blank, you're not going to get a correct ballot back.
you won't get a ballot. I believe you won't get a ballot back at all, because the application will be considered not or incomplete. So yes, thank you for that. So that is that first box, that first line. The next part is just filling out your regular information. Your voting address needs to be what's put on actually the part above that. So your registered voting address, if you don't know what that is, you can call your local election authority, whether you're St. Louis City or St. Louis County. St. Louis County is at 725 Northwest Plaza. St. Louis City is 300 North Tucker. And so you need to call your local election authority and see what your registered voting address is if you don't know, or it should be on your voter registration card, or if you got the ticket in the mail for the August 4th primary, wherever they mailed it to you at, that's the address that's that's your registered voting address. If your address has changed, but you have not changed it with the election authority, at this point, that process gets very confusing. Just put on the application, what should have been put on the application is the different place that you want it mailed. So if you didn't put anything here, your ballot will go back to that registered voting address that you filled out in the section above. Now, this is the actual important part between the absentee and mail-in ballot with what you can do once you get your ballot back. If you selected absentee, notaries are required except for two conditions. The second option that you see about being incapacitated, a notary is not required if you chose that option. The other option that does not require a notary is the last option, which is the box that was added, or the selection that was added because of COVID-19. And that is for people who are at risk or who are in contact with people who are super at risk for COVID-19. If you selected either of those, when you get your ballot back, you just fill it out because it's secret again, put it in the envelope, and then you will just put it in the mailbox. You do not need to go through the notary process that is outlined with the instructions that you get with your ballot. Now, on the other hand, any of those other absentee ballot options do still require a notary. As far as mail-in ballot, the mail-in ballot.
Alexis, one thing I think that they should know about the absentee ballot process also, if you decide that you do not want to vote absentee, but you have applied for the absentee ballot, you have until August 3rd to go in and vote in person.
At the election authority.
The day before the election day, the primary election day.
Correct, and that would be at whatever your local election authority is. And so now moving to the mail-in ballot request. Now this is the option that requires a notary for everybody. There are no exceptions. So with this one, you will get your ballot back, fill it out, put it in the envelope again because it's supposed to be secret, and then you need to take it and get it notarized. Typically, you can get notaries at banks, depending on where you work. Sometimes there's notary at your jobs. A lot of paralegals, I believe it's a requirement for them to be notaries. So there are a couple of different places that you can get them. But the cool thing about what we're doing with North Vote is that we're bringing it to the North City, North County community at Friendly Temple this weekend. So you can actually come and see us from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and get your ballot notarized with our drive-through notary services. Also, through the end of this month, so through July 31st, you can go to any drive-through Midland States Bank branch, and they will notarize your ballot for free as a partner with Promote the Vote. So those different locations are listed on our website, bamsl.org/promote the vote. But off the top of my head, I know that you can go to Rock Hill, Weldon Springs, Sunset Hills, Clayton, which is probably closest for our North County or city residents. There's a couple others on the list as well. Again, all this information is also on bamsl.org/promote the vote. But when you get it back, the envelope is what's getting notarized. It's not the ballot. Fill out your ballot, put it in the envelope, bring it to us, and we will get it notarized for you either at Friendly Temple on Saturday, the 25th, or at any drive-through Midland States Bank branch.
And it's important to note that you do not want to sign your ballot unless you're in front of the notary, because the notary has to see that it's you to verify that you're attesting that that's your ballot. So do not sign that ballot until you're in front of the notary. And
the envelope. It's the envelope. So if you have to sign something on the physical ballot itself, which I'm not 100% sure if you do, because I haven't gotten mine back yet, and we can't get a copy to actually see what it looks like. You can fill out the ballot in its entirety, but there is a place for you to sign on the envelope, and that is what you cannot sign until you get in front of a notary.
And the other key things that we want to note with the differences between absentee and mail-in, because absentee requires an excuse, and one of those excuses is being an at-risk individual for COVID, that is the easier route to take if you fall within that. So if you're 65 or older, you are immunocompromised or something like that. For instance, if you're like me, I'm 30, I'm healthy, I don't have I'm not immunocompromised or anything like that. I don't qualify for any of those excuses on the absentee, but I can still vote by mail by doing the mail-in ballot request. You do not need an excuse to vote on the mail-in ballot request. So that's the key thing that you want to note. If you are at risk for COVID or you meet any of those other criteria, absentee is the easiest way for you to go because you don't need a notary, but you can vote by mail if you do not meet any of those requests. Another important thing to note is with your absentee ballot, you actually can take an absentee ballot in person to the local election authority in addition to via by mail. If you do a mail-in ballot, that ballot has to be mailed back in to your local election authority. You cannot take it in person. There is an exception though. If you decide that on the day of the election, you don't actually want to vote by mail, as long as you haven't put that ballot into the mail, you can spoil your ballot and go in person and vote as long as you bring it with you. But once you put your mail-in ballot in the mail, that's it. There are no takebacks with that ballot, and you've now cast your vote.
And so that is why timing is very, very important with this. Again, the Secretary of State has made comments over the past probably week or 2 weeks about the fact that these requests, not only just the applications, but the turnaround time for the ballots being returned, as well as when you put your ballot in the mail and send it back to your local election authority. All of those processes are taking a little bit longer than expected because of the higher volume. So that 7 to 10 business days or 7 to 10 days is very important with getting your ballot returned to your local election authority. So our last event is on July 25th because that gives you that 7 to 10 day time frame to get your ballot back. Like, get it notarized, put it in the mailbox immediately. If you want to get your mail to the election authority faster, at least for St. Louis City, I would suggest maybe taking it to the main post office on Market. because that is the hub for St. Louis City, and they process faster versus it going from whatever random mailbox to downtown and then to where it needs to go. So again, just suggestions to throw out there, but that 7 to 10 days, that is a very crucial time frame. So get it notarized as soon as you can and get it in the mail as soon as you can if you are going to stick with the mail-in option.
And like Alexis said, for both the absentee and the mail-in ballot, the local election authority has to receive your ballot by August 4th. It's no later than 7 p.m. That is a very strict time frame, and that's part of what we're trying to do through YLD Cares and through Promote the Vote, is educating people on these strict timelines. So you do not want to do same-day mail because they will not receive it. If they don't have it by 7 p.m., which is the cutoff time, then your vote is not going to count. So you really want to make sure that as soon as you've gotten your ballot, you've gotten it notarized if you're doing mail-in, and you can only mail your mail-in ballot by U.S. mail. You cannot FedEx it or UPS it or any other delivery service. It has to be U.S. mail. So that's another thing you want to keep in mind with this. We've also placed for you guys your local election authority in St. Louis County, St. Louis City, and St. Charles County. The addresses are there, the telephone numbers, faxes, and the websites so that you guys can obtain more information if you have any questions. Again, the key things that you want to remember is that for the primary election, the deadline to vote is August 4th, 2020, no later than 7. And then for our general election, November 3rd, no later than 7 p.m.
And as of right now, perfect timing. So this is, again, our community partner, Midland States Bank. They are hosting notaries during their business hours at these 7 locations. So it's Arnold, Rock Hills, Sunset Hills, Weldon Springs, St. Clair, O'Fallon, Missouri, and then Clayton. So if that last event that we are having this upcoming Saturday at Friendly Temple doesn't work for you, please go and see them. You do not have to be a Midland States Bank customer to partake. And again, it is free. Our services on Saturday is also free. So we have attorneys coming from all over the greater St. Louis area, as well as paralegals and other professionals that are notaries that are giving their time to help us promote the vote and to make sure that the voices of our St. Louis community is heard. And so please come out, please visit bamzo.org/promote the vote again for more information. And I do just want to quickly thank our partners. This is a community effort. It's so much bigger than just BAMZO and the Young Lawyers Division. Promote the Vote was supported and pushed and accepted by so many different people. And so I just want to quickly thank our sponsors, the Powell Law Firm, the Women's Lawyer Association of Greater St. Louis, obviously BAMZO, the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis for their support, Lace, your law firm, MVP Law, I don't want to butcher the names, MVP Law, as of recently, the Simon Law Firm has jumped on board. They donated all of the PPE and all of the food and supplies for our notary volunteers, so we're super grateful to them. And Brown & Crouppen is also a new sponsor that also helped buy supplies for us. So we are just very grateful that the legal community is rallying behind this. Community leaders are rallying behind this. We've had support from Cardinal Ritter, from Jennings School District. Dr. Art McCoy has been amazing in supporting us with this as well. So the big thing is that we want the actual community, the people, the constituents to come out and to support this the same way and to get the services that we all need in light of COVID-19 as safely as possible. To ensure that we can vote, because this is a very important election, regardless of how you vote or who you believe in or what you believe in. What you say yes and no to is not our concern, but it is our concern to make sure that you have the opportunity to do that and to select and vote for whoever it is that you see fit. So with that, Lace, if you have some things to add.
I just have a couple of more things I want to touch on. In collaboration with all of our community partners, we have been able to pass out more than 2,500 ballot applications, and 1,500 of those applications actually had pre-stamped envelopes to people, which we've gotten great feedback from the community that it just made things a lot easier. When you're dealing with a pandemic, as well as the day-to-day issues that, you know, come with being a minority in America, we just want to make things a little bit easier so that people have access. If you guys have questions about voting, again, you can go to the Promote the Vote website. You can also go to the Missouri Secretary of State's website, and again, your local election authorities, and those websites should be on the screen for you guys if you have any questions for that. Additionally, Alexis and my contact information is on the Promote the Vote website if you guys have any additional questions about the process. It is our goal and intention to do these application drives and notarization drives in the November election. If the Senate bill is upheld and the notarization aspect is still a factor that has to be done in completion of that, so that people can have their voice heard in November as well.
So thank you so much, Bishop, for having us. We hope this was insightful. Our goal is, even if we reach just one person, that's one more person's voice that gets to be heard. And we just are so grateful to Greater Grace for helping us promote the vote. We hope to see you guys out at Friendly Temple this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we hope to also see everyone back and voting in November as well. So thank you so much for having us, Bishop.
Yes, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I still really could not understand what you're saying, but hopefully through the streaming that everybody at home did. So I want to thank you all so much for coming and presenting this very important information to us, and that people will act upon it and make sure they go and vote and get your ballot, get your ballot notarized, so therefore your vote can count. For more information, you could call the St. Louis Bar Association for Young Lawyers, and I'm quite sure they'd be glad to help you. So attorneys, thank you all so much. And what we're going to do tonight, we're going to end a little bit early, but I'm going to say a prayer for everybody, because we live in times now that where we need to really focus on God. Let's bow our heads right now. Lord, I thank you for tonight. I thank you, God, that even in our country, we thank you for the right, God, that we can vote and be able to cast our decision, that our voice may be heard. So I pray, God, for America. I pray for this nation, that, God, it will have leaders that will galvanize the people together and make it to a stronger country. Keep its focus on you. I pray now, God, for every family, everyone listening to us tonight. You know their needs, their prayer requests. Touch them, God. Bless them, give them comfort, give them strength. And we thank you, God, for your blessings and for your power. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. I want to remind you again, on August the 4th, don't forget to say yes to Amendment 2. And next Wednesday, we have a different Wednesday night, the Pentecostal Assembly of the World International Convention will be done virtually. And therefore, we're going to be having that. If you stream to our website, you'll be able to see that convention. And then the following week, I'll come back with teaching, start teaching again. So God bless you all. Have a great night. Love you to life. God bless.